With that, Chris, community. We know because we are both also in the board game space in some way or form. For those who don't know, I do my own YouTube channel and I've got a business where I do things with board games. This is not about me. This is about Chris, but I want to set the record straight because we met at PAX Unplugged and you had a table. And as I tell this story, you had a table, you are showing people your game Holiday Hills. And the community that you already were building around you with people who, for the most part, were complete strangers tells me a lot about your ability to have conversations and talk to people just like that. Like it comes, it feels like very easy to you. So talk to me about how you've built this community in the board game space, because you've, in my opinion, done it incredibly well in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, community is so important. And I think for me, learning early on that people's time is valuable and someone giving their time to you is the most generous thing they could do. Money is not more valuable than time. And so if I'm going to ask someone to give their time to me, then I need to understand that my time that I'm giving to them needs to be as well provided as possible. And that means that I need to not give half of it. I got to give it all. Like it's got to be me, it's got to be authentic, it's got to be honest, it's got to be true. And so if someone walks up to me at the booth or at a table and they say hello, that hello is the biggest investment they could give to me in that moment. And they're taking that time to come to me over thousands of other options that they could be doing. And so I want to honor that by doing that. So for me, building community is just communication, being very transparent with people, learn what they enjoy, and give that to them is very important as well. So if it's at a table or something, I want to understand pretty quickly if they have played a game or they haven't played a game. So I kind of then know how to communicate to them, right? Like, oh, well, let me just slow myself down a little bit. If someone asks a question and kind of disrupts my mode, that's okay. Let me go ahead and answer that question because someone else probably needs a break from me talking, you know? And so telling people, hey, I got you. I'm going to answer your thing in 1 second. Let me finish with them. Acknowledging people, making people feel heard, feel welcomed. In business is really important. That can be anything from a cold call to you meeting them at lunch, interrupting a meeting as well. There's a lot of different ways you can go about it, but acknowledging people's time and valuing that time is going to set the it's going to set the standard for how you approach conversations with people.
And you translate that. It's interesting. I think you translate that really well, both in person and online, because the process is you're communicating to someone. And so to that point, if you get that comment, because you do have a YouTube channel, you do other things, so you're attentive to the comment in those moments, right? Because if we translate that concept, I love what you talked about with hello. I've long said the power of hello is incredibly impactful. We're past this stage almost where we used to get in there and say hello to people, not just stare at our phones. So now the power of hello and eye contact to me is a big deal. In a way, we're just trying to make that eye contact online when we're doing it digitally is kind of the way I think about it.
Yeah. I mean, getting that personal contact with someone is so important, but also recognizing that if someone is, even though it takes way less time, if they've spent the moment to comment on something you're doing, liking a post, sharing a post, um, those are also important because people are pretty protective of their social media. Uh, and so if they are willing to give you some social media time, it's also important to acknowledge that that's valuable. And putting yourself in their shoes, like if you were unhappy and you said something, you might not necessarily mean it all the time. You might just be unhappy, or maybe you had a bad day. And so understanding that and just replying with grace, that's going to help a lot of times. And go ahead and type it out and then delete it and then come back to it later.
But you talk about replying with grace. One thing you've done, and most people are familiar with the Kickstarter. They've seen it. They may not have backed a board game, but they've seen a Kickstarter. I mean, you have to think about that as you ran your Kickstarter to support your game, and as you ran your programming, replying to these people about, when is my game coming out? Is it going to get to me on time? If we've run into situations where now the time schedule shifted, and now you may have to communicate something that someone doesn't want to hear. How do you handle those tougher questions then? Because you did kickstart a game and you have a lot of people who are excited about a game, but that can be equally challenging because not all people are understanding. If you said it's coming in December and it arrives 2 days after in January, that is a big deal to that person. And to your point, it might be something that you would hope they understand the reasoning, but it doesn't mean that they will.
Yeah, I mean, I've run into that a lot recently. Obviously, like we've got Holiday Hills coming, and due to things that are out of my control, really, it's not going to be on the time schedule it was meant to be. Everything was looking good up until recently, and it's not like it's months and months behind or anything. It's probably a couple weeks behind, right? But that matters to people, and so the way I handle it is through transparency and honesty, and those are different because if you're honest, you can be honest and say, I'm mad, but if you're transparent, you say, I'm mad because of this particular reason, right? And so telling people what's going on and being honest, it allows people to empathize with you. And you can ask for empathy and you're probably not going to get it. I mean, I had a backer recently send me a lot of really mean things in DMs. And I was gracious up until a point. And then at some point, you had to defend yourself and you had to say, I'm sorry. I'm not going to let this continue. I'm going to stop because you're actually hurting my mental health now. Now I have to stand up for myself. And I've done all I can do. I can look myself in the mirror and you move on. But yeah, it's difficult, but life is full of difficult moments. And so again, I go back to, you take a deep breath and you give yourself the same grace that you would hope that someone would give to you or that you would give to someone else. And ultimately, that's the best thing you can do.